One thing that stands out to me, and there are many needs, but I'm thinking 20, 30, 40 years, is climate change.
Good evening. My name
we're
is
a peninsula
Bill Law,
within
and
a
I'm the
peninsula,
president of St.
and
Petersburg
climate
College.
change and sea level
It's my
rise
pleasure
is
to
probably going to
welcome all of our guests.
impact
It's not the
Pinellas
first
County
time
more
we've
than
done
any
this,
other
so
county on the
we
west coast
rounded
of
up the
Florida.
usual
So to me, that's
suspects and
one
brought them
huge
back
thing
for
that stands out.
a
But that
repeat
is,
performance.
again, more
Tonight,
a 30, 40-year issue, but we need to
welcome
start
everybody
planning
and
now.
tell you how pleased we are that you could be with us tonight. Tonight, I want to introduce to you the newly selected provost for our Seminole campus, Mr. Mark Strickland. Mark replaces the founding provost, Dr. Jim Oliver, who is sitting in the back in a Hawaiian shirt now. So I think that it signals the transition is complete, okay? But Mark is a spectacular educator who is currently at our downtown campus doing some great work, and he was selected by us. We welcome you to our campus. When we can open our doors to citizens who aren't students in every case, people who look at the college as a resource where they can join together and access decision leaders, and where the college can play a role in helping enrich the knowledge base and all. We're proud to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're always welcome here. Thank you for being part of us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Law. I guess I'm one of the usual suspects, right? I'm Al Rochelle from Bay News 9. Bay News 9 is partnering with Pinellas County along with St. Pete College and the Institute of Strategic Policy Solutions to bring you tonight's Community Conversation. And we're coming to you live from the Digitorium on the Seminole campus of St. Petersburg College, recently named after Dr. James Oliver, by the way. Audience, thank you so much. This is almost double the audience we had last year. Thank you so much for showing up. We really appreciate your being with us. Give us yourself a round of applause, if you would. All right, we'd also like to welcome the folks participating online, by phone, and watching on television. Thank you so much for joining us. Now tonight, Pinellas County Commissioners and administrators want to have a conversation with you about your priorities, your concerns, that includes you out here, and the quality of life issues that face all of us as we raise families, we work, and live here in Pinellas County. Let's get started by introducing Commission Chairman John Maroney, who, by the way, was a spectacular guest on Bay News 9's Political Connections, which of course runs at 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. on Sundays. There's my commercial. John?
Thank you, Al. It was great being there. It really was. I want to thank Dr. Law for allowing us to come here again this year, and also for the community to come out and feel free to talk to us anytime, even though it's 1 hour tonight. We're always available to talk or answer your emails. We're looking forward to having this discussion with you. I would like to introduce our commission. I'm going to start with our Pinellas County Vice Chairman, Charlie Justice. Charlie?
Good evening.
And Charlie, you want to introduce our group?
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Also, if you came in tonight, you were greeted by our wonderful students of our Youth Advisory Committee. These are high school students that spend a year getting to know the ins and outs of county government, learn a little bit about a potential career in public service. So we appreciate the students being here, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, students. Also, I want to introduce Commissioner Pat Gerard, one of the new members on our board. Pat. Commissioner Karen Seal, the longest-serving member out of the 7 of us. Commissioner Ken Welch. What can I say about you, but everything good. The other new commissioner, Dave Eggers, former mayor of Dunedin, who now serves with us since November. And Commissioner Janet Long, who most of you already know right here from Seminole. And then we have someone named Mark Woodard, who keeps us all in line, our county administrator, and he is not new. So it's great to have you, Mark, and looking forward to having this great discussion now. Thank you.
All right, John, thank you so much. Now, lots of ways you can participate tonight. 5, for example, if I kept it back here. For those in our audience, you're going to step up to Jane. She's right up here with your yellow card, or is it green? It's green. I'm just colorblind. With your green card, with your question, if you don't want to read their question out loud, you don't have to. She can read it for you. Or you can hog the microphone and kind of do what you want. But please, if you would just kind of restrict your question to your question. If we'd appreciate that, that'll mean we can get more questions in and not so many comments, per se. All right, if you're joining us online, the instructions are down here somewhere in the magic world of television, telling you what you have to do. If you're watching on television, you can go online to pinellascounty.org/community conversation to watch this event, and you can also blog in your questions. And you can also join our conversation by phone. Here's the phone number right now, and no, you can't get a pizza if you call this number. It's 1-888-409-5380. 1-888-409-5380. An operator will take your question. We're also calling Pinellas County residents right now to join the conversation in, and if you're joining us by phone, all you have to do is press 0 at any time to ask a question. Someone will take that question for you, and we'll get you off and rolling throughout this evening. So we also have, oh, by the way, Twitter and tweet and all that sort of stuff at Pinellas C-C. I'm not a big tweeter, okay? I'll just tell you that right now. First of all, I'd like to introduce now Mr. Mark Woodard. Pinellas County has conducted a citizen survey to tell us more about that survey, why they did it, and some of its findings. Mark, good to see you.
Thank you, Al. Good to see you. And before we get into the survey, I've always wondered how it is that you and other news anchors deliver the news so quickly and so seamlessly. And I'm going to reveal your secret. Studio audience, see this machine over here? He just reads what's on it.
Now, wait a minute. I get to ad-lib occasionally. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Al. So Al is right. On an annual basis, the county does a citizen survey. Why? Because it's important to the board to know what you think about the county, what you think about the county's services, what you think about the quality of life in Pinellas County. So this year marks the 5th year that we've done that, and it gives us not only really good information in terms of how you perceive the county and our services right now, but how you've perceived those services over time. So here's a few factoids, and I'm not going to go into all of it because you can go to our website at pinellascounty.org and find the full report. But one fact that's interesting, 9 out of 10 Pinellas County residents think that the county is a great place to live and retire. I mean, I think that's awesome. Also, we know that when we look at the results this year versus 5 years ago, 84% of you think that the quality of life in Pinellas County is better today than it was then. Another interesting piece of information. But perhaps the most interesting piece of information, which we can benchmark against the National Gallup poll, is this question. What percentage of Pinellas County residents have trust and confidence in these 7 people? 83%. Wow. The national standard is 71%. Pinellas County, 83%. Everywhere else in the country, 71, 72%. So the thanks go to the Board of County Commissioners for that awesome accomplishment. So one of the other things that we do in this survey is we look at 10 community characteristics. And if you look up at the monitor now, you can see that. And again, I'm not going to go into the detail because we want to keep the most of our time available for your questions. But essentially, the dark blue line is your expectation, and the light blue line is your experience. So think about going to a restaurant. You have an expectation of how good that meal is going to be. And how many times have you gone to that fancy restaurant only to find that the actual experience of eating there didn't live up to the expectation? Well, we kind of view our services the same way. We want your experience to be every bit as good or better than what your expectation was. And you can see that we really do a very good job in some areas. So up at the top, moving counterclockwise to the left, volunteer opportunities, cultural events and social activities, recreational opportunities. Those are things where your experience with the county meets your expectation. That's a good thing. But let's take a moment and just move over clockwise to the right from the 12 o'clock position. Housing affordability, health and human services for the disadvantaged residents, availability of career opportunities for my children, and quality of public infrastructure. Those are areas where your experience is not keeping up with your expectation. So what does that tell us? That tells us that those are opportunities for improvement. Those are areas where we want to focus our attention, focus our resources. And one way we've done that is the Board of County Commissioners recently adopted a new strategic plan. And that will come up next. You can see that the vision, which is the basis for this plan, is to be the standard for public service in America. And that's something that all 1,876 employees that work under the administrator and the Board of County Commissioners are committed to achieving on a daily basis. So from there, we have 5 broad goal areas that you can see: creating a quality workforce and a positive, supportive environment, ensuring public health, safety, and welfare, practicing superior environmental stewardship, fostering continual economic growth and vitality, and then finally at the top, delivering first-class services to the public and our customers. 5 broad goal areas. Within each of those areas, you can see 4 to 6 strategies. And what you don't see, but what we're doing every day for you, is out in our departments, we have those men and women that I referenced earlier doing things that align with those strategies in support of those goals and therefore the entire strategic plan. So if you look at the visual, think about this as the first one down at the bottom, the quality workforce, that's the foundation. The next 3 above that are the support pillars. And if we do all 4 of those things right and accomplish those goals, then we accomplish the 5th goal, which is the roof, which is delivering first-class services to you, the public. As you look at those goals and strategies and think back to those gaps between experience and expectation, you'll see that this strategic plan and its strategies are designed to address those things. So this Board of County Commissioners and all of those county employees are going to be focused this year and beyond to work on those gaps so that next year your experience meets your expectations.
Great. All right, Mark, thank you so much. That's good stuff there. I thought it was a promo for a Spider-Man movie for just a second there. I love those surveys because they really do indicate an awful lot about how we're functioning. We're going to start it with some questions that come from our audience right here. Jane is going to have the microphone there. Again, you have the option of wanting to speak, or if you don't, she can read the question for you. Jane, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Al. Our first question comes from Robert from Seminole, and he is asking, when will 102nd Avenue from Seminole Boulevard to 131st Street be addressed? This is regarding paving and widening.
Commissioners, go right ahead. And what I'm going to do today is I'm just see you all kind of, chime in. There are some areas that you have expertise, other areas don't. So let's just make sure that we all get a chance to speak. Janet?
Al, I think I'd like to take that question since Seminole is my home, and there has not been one time that issue of 102nd Avenue has come to our commission or when we get our updates from the Florida Department of Transportation on our short and long range plans that I haven't referenced 102nd and the deteriorating condition of the road and the traffic. It may interest you to know that I have to go in and out of my subdivision on 102nd every morning and come back there at night. And sometimes it can take me 10 minutes, up to 10 minutes in the morning to get out of my subdivision. So you may also remember, if you've lived here for a few years, that approximately 6 years or so ago, there was a public hearing, several of them actually, in Seminole, about the plans for 102nd. The community overwhelmingly opposed those plans to widen the road and improve it, so therefore it came off of the short and long range plans, and transportation plans are dictated in 10-year and 20-year segments so that we know how we're going to pay for them. So I'm going to turn the rest of this conversation over to our county administrator to give us an update, because I complain about it all the time. Do I not, Mark?
Indeed, she does. And thank you, Commissioner. I thought you answered that question very well. As the Commissioner Long indicated, oftentimes we have these community needs, but we'll have other community groups that oppose those solutions. In this particular case, we'll have to look into that in more detail. But I would add that one great source for you with respect to the status of capital projects that the county is doing is, again, if you go to our website, look for the Citizens Guide to the Public. That will link you up to our capital improvement program, which is a 10-year program. You can look at that. You can look under the category transportation in this case, and you could look for that project, and then it would tell you what year it's scheduled to be appropriated for design work as well as construction.
John, go ahead.
Thanks, Al. Thank you, Al. A little bit more information on Commissioner Long's comments. Commissioner Long was not on the commission 6 years ago at that time, and the community did come out overwhelmingly against doing the improvements. It was like a $34 million capital project, and they said, we don't want it. It's like, you know, please don't spend the money. We don't want it. We don't need it. But we did agree that some improvements should be done on the sides of the road. One of them was something that we just got completed. It was on the bridge because there's so many horse farms off of 102nd, and that's where a lot of the folks who didn't want that improvement because of it would have put the road closer to the horses and upset the horses and all that. And so that's why that was kind of shelved. But there still are improvements we need to make per the agreement that we did with them. I think we got it down to like $3 or $4 million. So we're still need to do stuff out there. It's just not the big plan that originally was proposed.
Okay, and we'll give you the phone number one more time so we can get in some of these online comments as well. It's 1-888-409-5380. Again, if you want to participate online on the computer, and we'd love to hear from you as well. All right, Jane, you've got somebody else with a comment from the floor?
I do, Al. We have Guy joining us this evening from Seminole, and he's got a question.
Okay, it's kind of a lead-in to the what you were just talking about improvement. More so in the residential neighborhoods, though. I understand some of the more traveled roads, 102nd, 131st, and even out in some of the other communities in Pinellas County. But you have some residential roads that probably keep getting patched and been getting patched for 20 plus years that have multi-million-dollar homes or quite a few $100,000 homes on there. Where can I find that information to see where that comes into the long-term plan for pavement and drainage and all that other good stuff?
Anybody?
Yes, sir. Again, our website is just a wealth of information. We do have a page called the Municipal Services Taxing Unit, which is kind of government speak for the unincorporated portion of the county paving program. And the board has allocated millions of dollars over the last many years to upgrade the road network within the unincorporated area. Some of you might know that 5-10 years ago we had unpaved dirt roads within the unincorporated area. So we've very systematically gone through that list and paved many of those roads. But again, I think to your question, check out that website, and I think you'll be able to find it there.
Dirt road, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that question. We're going to go ahead and get some more. This comes to us from our blog, and Luis Ash writes, what is the greatest challenge you see facing Pinellas County in the next 10 years? I feel limiting new development until our transit systems improve should be a high priority. What do you think? Anyway, we could talk 4 hours on transportation. Ken, you groaned the most, so go ahead on that one.
Grown? I've actually lost some weight.
No, I didn't mean that kind of groan. No. Thank you.
What an open-ended question. I mean, we're in a great position in Pinellas County. I mean, part of the reason that we had to cut back on road maintenance, on the arts, on recreation, on so many other, worthy initiatives was because of the recession. And we are now able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're able to very strategically add back some services where it makes sense. The sheriff is going to present to us tomorrow, and he's had to make some extraordinary cuts in his organization, and we need to help him with compensation for his deputies, for example. So there are a lot of needs there, but we are now, like I said, at a point where we can add back some strategic services. One thing that stands out to me, and there are many needs, but I'm thinking 20, 30, 40 years, is climate change. We're a peninsula within a peninsula, and climate change and sea level rise is probably going to impact Pinellas County more than any other county on the west coast of Florida. So to me, that's one huge thing that stands out. But that is, again, more a 30, 40-year issue, but we need to start planning now.
Okay. Any other comments? Go ahead, Charlie.
Thank you. I think when we're talking long-term plans, the human side of it is critically important. And the county has identified 5 poverty zones throughout Pinellas County. And some of these zones, people are living in situations that the worst of the worst. You know, it's the high level of recidivism and crime rates, dropout rates in school, homeless rates. And we've partnered with the city of St. Petersburg recently to create a community redevelopment agency for South St. Petersburg. We're now starting the process to create one in the Lellman community in unincorporated Pinellas to address some of those needs. If we can lift a percentage of the people out of poverty and give them hope for economic development, for jobs, we can really make a huge difference for the future of Pinellas.
And that's kind of interesting because the next question came from Patricia that said, what are you doing about affordable housing?
To follow up on that is that last year we set aside $15 million from a previous Penny for Pinellas and a land assembly fund, which will go towards purchasing land for the opportunity of affordable housing.
Karen?
And actually, through a very innovative process, we have set up a housing trust fund and a land assembly trust fund. And what we're doing is we're ensuring that whatever affordable housing that we produce stays affordable for up to 99 years. So it's either through rental properties or it's through, purchasing of a property. If it stays in the land trust, then they can, if they sell the house, they can make a modest amount of profit, but it still keeps it affordable housing. We've actually performed quite well, and this really goes back to the housing boom through 2007 to 8, the top of the market, where affordable housing was so scarce. And so we really put the mechanisms in place through this commitment of $15 million. We had previously also committed other funding. They're recycling a lot of that money so that we keep producing more and more affordable housing. We have great partnerships with Habitat for Humanity, who is building. We are surplusing land either through the cities or through the county, and they are producing robust developments that will be affordable housing for years to come. So while we're not perfect, we are making tremendous strides in that regard.
Ken, and if I call you by your first names, that's not meant to be disrespect, but I know all you people by your first names, so I'm going to call you first names. Ken?
And I think one of the most important things, and it's reflected in the strategic plan, is the commission is keenly aware that all of these issues are linked together, whether it's poverty or affordable housing or homelessness, mental health care, all those things are linked together. And transportation remains one of those areas where we lag behind every other major metropolitan area in the United States, the Tampa Bay area. With the failure of Greenlight, we are now, from the PSTA standpoint, and there are 4 commissioners who serve on PSTA, reassessing how we deliver that service. And the average person might not know that the average PSTA rider has a full or part-time job. They ride the bus 5 days a week, and they don't own a car. And so if we're going to move forward as a community, we have to maintain that public transit system. And right now, we've got some challenges in doing that in Pinellas County.
Yeah, and if we have, Dave, you had one more comment you want to add on that?
I just wanted to add, to kind of piggyback on that a little bit, but as it relates to economic development opportunities in our county and getting those premium jobs that are out there and trying to bring them to this area, because I think if you looked at that review of that spider diagram, one of the things is trying to find jobs or careers for family members, and that's one of the big concerns about the area. So I think as we lift up the poverty areas of our county and we try to bring them all together through better transportation, I really think trying to plant seeds and bring first-rate companies here in the long run. I mean, I think we look at it regionally. It's not just south, north, mid Pinellas, it's Tampa, it's all of these areas where folks who live here maybe go across the bridge and work, but we bring them here as well. So I think that's one of those issues, kind of tying it all together, that is critical in the years
And I'm just
ahead.
going to remind you one more time, if you're joining us by phone, if you want to ask a question, you have to press 0. I know it sounds odd while you're listening to press 0, but that's how you get your question answered. Jane, you've got another question from our audience.
Indeed. We have Greta from Largo. Greta, what's your question?
My question really does spring off of the transportation issues already discussed, and it really has to do with let's connect up Pinellas County. Let's build an east-west bicycle trail, pedestrian trail, mid-county. If If you look at our county map, you see a lot of dotted lines where there is no trail or bike lane. In mid-county, there's planned or promised lanes, and it goes right back to folks who don't have cars, people who need to use other ways of getting to work. It's very difficult to go east and west. You can go north and south. And now that we have an approval on the loop, that's great news. But we're still not going east and west. I would love to park my car and ride to work, but I can't. It's too dangerous. So I would like to ask if you guys have put any thought into your finding advantages, opportunities with other projects to build in a trail plan, a design, or do what Dunedin's doing and widen existing sidewalks. I think it's Michigan, they widen the sidewalk. It's a great idea. It adds to safety, predictability, and you will enhance the community. So that's my question. It's mostly a comment. And the other comment I wanted to make was there is, as Mark Woodard said, there's that website for road construction. There's also an interactive map. Click on that map. It's linked to the work planning data. So as the planners change or put on new roads, that map changes dynamically as the data is being corrected or changed.
East-West Trail, one of you want to talk about it? Pat?
I'll talk about that because Greta and I were talking about that before we started here. I think it's a great idea to do an east-west trail, and Pinellas County has an incredible trail system that links most of the green spaces in this county, and I think east-west makes a lot of sense. I can't promise you that we'll do anything about it this year, but I like where you had it going, and I'm willing to work with you about that. Long term, I think it's a great idea. I mean, we're still trying to link the Pinellas Trail and the Duke Energy Trail and all that, so perhaps when that's done, we can start east-west.
Yeah, and I'm one of these bikes. I love the Pinellas Trail. I love the Ream Wilson Trail. I mean, the more bike trails for me, the less fat on me, and I love that. Okay, that's a good thing. Charlie?
Just wanted to quickly add that we have just submitted a grant to the Federal Department of Transportation for $20 million matching with our money to help connect some of those links that are missing in the Pinellas Trail. And something that I learned in this process was that 2/3 of the people that use the trail use it for transportation, getting to work, getting to school, not for recreation. Wow. And so it's a critical part of our economic development as well as the recreational component.
All right. You had something more, Dave?
Just real quick, and to the point that you brought up as far as in Dunedin and the widening of the sidewalks, it's a tough battle. You know, every place along the county has its unique challenges to get ourselves east to west. And I think what they've done, or what we did in Dunedin, was start, and we've kind of started from the trail and moving ourselves eastward so that we can connect up with the loop that the county's talking about finishing up in Countryside. So, but it takes some real hard work to get it done because the connections sometimes aren't simple, and sometimes it is using the streets and making all the wayfinding the right way, or widening the sidewalks and committing to it. But I think it's certainly something that the residents want, and so it's something that we need to roll up our sleeves and get working on it.
Karen, go ahead.
And one of the best programs has been what the city of St. Petersburg has done. And they truly made a commitment to doing connections to the Pinellas Trail. So they have quite a robust bicycle system. The city of Clearwater is getting ready to do an east-west on Druid Road, which I'm sure you're aware of. And as Charlie mentioned, this will be the third time that we've submitted this Tiger grant for federal funding. And we were in the highly recommended category last year, so we're hoping that we succeed this year. And then finally, and I know if you're an avid bicyclist, you do know that the county's made an ongoing commitment for many years that when we repave an arterial road, we put a bike lane on it. And it is at grade and it's on the road, but we are marking them and putting the bike lanes on the arterial roads.
John, and then Pat.
I just wanted to add that because a lot of people think that's mostly North County, but in that Tiger Grant application, there's a $600,000 ask for the San Martin Bridge in St. Petersburg. For those of you who are from St. Petersburg, stay watchful, because hopefully we'll be able to get the money this time for it. This has been a long, arduous task trying to get the money for this part of the bridge.
Pat?
I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, that's good. Well, let's go to the blog sheet right now. What communities can Pinellas learn from when planning our future? It says, what communities can Pinellas learn from when planning our future? That comes to us from Will on the blog. Pat? Now you remember.
Okay, now I remember. Well, I think we learn from all of them, whether it's what not to do or what to do well. I mean, we don't know it all for sure. I mean, one of the reasons we go and when we travel as elected officials, when we travel, one of our favorite things is to just look around at public infrastructure and services, and you know, we notice those things, we bring home the best ideas, and we try to implement them. The rest of the country and the rest of the world has lots to show us about that. You know, it's a matter of resources. So,
One example that I was able to learn from is originally they set up the Intelligent Transportation System, which is basically the smart signal system. There were 4 test beds in the United States, and I went to the one in Phoenix, and that was in the year 2000. And I came back and I said, I want the smart signals throughout Pinellas County. So this county commission and previous county commissions has dedicated the 9-cent gas tax, which is known as the pothole tax, and it is only dedicated towards implementing the system. So that's why you see the message board signs. That's why you see some better coordination of the traffic signals, because now it's done in real time instead of the old days when you timed a light, you'd go out and you'd say, I'm putting the counters down. And they will only tell you today, this day of May, there's that many cars, but it won't tell you tomorrow or the next day. So you can't really time the lights unless you use real time. So we do learn from other communities. I know when the Homeless Leadership Board was working on the homeless plan, they go all over the United States seeking out the best practices. And we all also regularly receive county newsletters and other materials, and we voraciously read them looking to see what other idea we can steal. So we do really try to do our very best.
All right, this question comes on the phone, and this one, I'm a president of a homeowners association, so I'm sensitive to this one, and I knew this was going to come up. When are you going to address the storm sewer problem now that all of us are paying $115 on our tax bill, and when some subdivisions are told you need to clean out your ponds at a cost of thousands of dollars? What's going to go on in the county, and how long before all of these ponds and these roadways that we are now seeing being worked on are, in quotes, brought up to these new stormwater standards that we all have to live up to now?
Well, there's, when in doubt, ask the chairman. There's a tremendous need for a lot of improvement in that area. And that stormwater tax was a very hard vote for a lot of us. But the thing is that we have to meet certain criteria by the federal government and it's a very involved thing that I don't understand all of it either, but they tell you that if you don't do it this way and if you don't meet these standards, you're gonna pay dearly. So we had to do this. Now, the need, and Al brought up the need for the ponds and the lakes. If it's a private pond and if it's a private lake, you know, years ago, maybe the county cleaned it out, dredged it out years ago when there wasn't such a great demand for it. Well, we can't do that now. And there's been a case that, you know, we can't as government go and clean out a private lake or a private pond. So, but we have a program, it's called Adopt a Pond, that our staff could help you with, and I don't know if any of them are here in that department this evening. Kelly Levy runs that department. She can help you get some type of information and where you can go for help in order to get that information. However, the ones that are our responsibility, they're on a list, and we're getting them done little by little. Right here in Seminole, they had a sign up there being paid for with your stormwater fee. So you're seeing that you are paying something and you are getting it. If it's unincorporated area, we're going to take care of that area first. I mean, absolutely.
And Kelly does a great job of helping. She is helping, but boy, you talk about complicated. I've done a lot of complicated stories in my life, and I looked at that formula, it was like, oh my gosh, that's an algorithm and a half. Janet?
Hold on, I just want to say, actually, right before the show, before we did Political Connections on last week, Al gave me an earful about his own neighborhood, so that's why I knew, and Kelly got back with you.
Yep, she did.
Absolutely good.
Great. Janet?
Well, I think as you're thinking about this issue, all of us know that when we passed that legislation, for lack of a better word, we got a lot of complaints from a lot of people. And it's important to remember that for many years, the infrastructure as it relates to stormwater management has been neglected. And the thing that exacerbates the problem is the fact that 15 out of the 24 municipalities in our county have a stormwater management fee. And so if you take a glass that's full of water and you spill it on the table, the water goes wherever it's going to go. So if you have a stormwater management fee in your city and the city next to you doesn't have one, well, then that's a problem, because one city's taking care of their needs and the other city isn't, and so that just affects the whole entire area around it. So the cities have had a little bit of angst with county government because we didn't implement that fee, and their attitude was, well, when you take care of your area, we're going to join you and then we'll all be doing the same thing. So as we move forward, you're going to see, I think, a lot of improvements. And right here in Seminole, they're starting to do another program on Lake Seminole to take care of the issues in Lake Seminole. So we have a long way to go with a lot of infrastructure needs that have been neglected for a very long time. And like everything else, it didn't all happen overnight, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. It's just going to take a steady persistence. And by the way, this is a serious issue that plagues our entire nation, not just our little Pinellas County.
Absolutely. All right, thank you for being so patient. Jane, you have another person with a question for us.
We do. Tom is joining us for Seminole. Tom, your question?
Okay, this would come back to 102nd Avenue and helping you with your pedestrian and bicycle safety. Pretty major intersection at the northeast corner of this property, a school property. The intersection has no sidewalk connection, no pedestrian crosswalks, and is not ADA compliant, American with Disability Act. So to go from a neighborhood over to Winn-Dixie with a bicycle becomes kind of chancy at best. So I'd just like to point that out to you, that the intersection at the northeast corner of this school property has no crosswalks, has nothing like the same intersection at 102nd and Seminole, which has crosswalks, ADA, stop and go, don't walk lights, everything in the book. And the next intersection to the west has nothing.
And
just to
kudos
point it
for
out.
bringing that up, because I can tell you that several times a week I witness accidents on that intersection as a result. So it's a problem.
As outlined at Bay News 9 every morning, every 10 minutes on the weather with Chuck Henson. So another commercial along the way. This is a general question coming to us from the telephone. Curtis wants to know how the commission is helping grow startup businesses and to grow good jobs. Anybody? I think we addressed it a little bit earlier, but any specific things, Charlie?
Well, we partner with different organizations. We have and I'm blanking on the name of Tanya's group down in St. Petersburg that used to be at our Star Center, but we support that organization, which helps startup businesses in that area. And then our other part is that when we do go out and try and lure businesses here, we are targeted industries. We're not just getting any job coming in, but we're targeting industries that are going to bring the high-paying jobs.
Janet?
I'd like to point out also that Pinellas County this year embarked on a brand new initiative that's tied with a partnership with the German government to address some manufacturing issues that we have for our labor force. And so now we have programs in 3 parts of our counties that are affiliated with our high schools to train young people while they're in school, so when they graduate with a certification in German manufacturing skills and a guaranteed job with a minimum salary of about $43,000 a year. So we're looking forward very much to that program becoming very robust in our region and helping to provide some very lucrative employment for our young people. And I'm excited to be part of that.
All right, Jane, you have another person with a question down there, please.
Yes, Stephen from Seminole has a question.
Good afternoon or good evening, commissioners and new commissioners. As many of you know, I'm a longtime advocate for youth recreation here in the Seminole area. And, oh, I lost my train of thought. My question is, it's been a year since you provided sustainable income to the Eastlake area for youth recreation. Where are we now providing sustainable income for specifically our part of the county, but obviously you spoke last June about providing sustainable income for recreation to the rest of the county. And the second part of that question is, you've been working for a year internally on that. Can you create a working group of internal and external people maybe to make this vision come quicker?
Go ahead, John.
Steve Cecil has worked so hard on this over the last few years. We've worked very close on this, and he supported back then when we had the extra tax. And then we lost that money, and then you didn't get any more money. And then we gave it to Eastlake last year, and then everyone started coming back to us as like, okay, what can you do for us? And our unincorporated area has been suffering in this area. And Steve has worked really hard, and he's been very patient along with the others in trying to get the plan for Seminole Warhawks going. As you know, and I know that you're aware of this, Paul Kazi in our department has been working really hard with all the players. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Mark to give you the most up-to-date where Paul's at with that, because we were scheduled to have some work sessions, and different reasons we had to cancel them and stuff. But I think we're getting close to that point that we need to have to give them an answer. So I'll turn it over to you, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Steve and I spoke a little bit before the discussion here today, and he has been in contact with our staff. You know, there is a need for active recreation within the unincorporated area, and certainly within the Seminole, unincorporated portion of Seminole. So as part of the board's budget deliberations coming up for next fiscal year, I'm certain that this will be an item that we'll have further discussion on.
Now, I don't know if this ties together with this coming from one of the blogs. Gabe wants to know if the commission will ever restore the recreation reimbursement and grant programs. Is that the same thing or not? What's that?
That was a program that worked very well. Residents, people who chose to go to a city to achieve active recreation was reimbursed for their fee cost. So if it was $100 to be able to go to the city of Largo or the city of Clearwater or wherever, they were reimbursed that personally once they showed proof that they had done that. And I'll turn that one over to Mark, because we've also had a conversation about it, because I thought it was a very successful program.
Yes, Commissioner Seal is absolutely correct. It was a reimbursement of costs actually incurred by unincorporated residents taking advantage of active recreation programs within cities. What has happened since then, though, since we stopped that program, is most of the cities have lowered or eliminated that differential between participating in a rec program as a resident or non-resident. However, the second part of this question regarding the grant program, that was one where the county commission made additional monies available to not-for-profits and cities that would enhance the capacity of playing fields and other facilities so that unincorporated residents could take advantage of that. And that's something that we're evaluating as part of this year's budget deliberation.
Yeah, you had another comment?
Just one last thing is that, you will have a decision package, and in that there is some appropriations for the Seminole complexes as a short-term solution. We hope you support that and keep that small bit of stipend in there. It's less than 1% of what the sheriff's asking, so it's really small.
Oh boy.
That doesn't help.
Hey, I'm just going to remind you one more time, if you're joining us by telephone, at that 1-888-409-5380 number, that you have to hit 0 if you want, after you've called us, to ask a question. A question that I want to ask, and we'll get some more out here. I won't characterize what happened to Greenlight, because I think a lot of people in the media are still, we're still all confused about what happened. That we know there's a tremendous need for transportation. Okay, that was plan A. Was there a plan B? And if there wasn't, what is now the new plan A?
Well, as the former PSTA chair, I guess I'll jump on that one. There was a plan B, and a lot of it we've talked about tonight. Greenlight was a multimodal approach. And in my view, if you take out the rail piece of it, we are still trying to implement the rest of those programs, whether it's pedestrian access, bike access. I always look to Commissioner Seal when we talk about roads in US 19. The Gateway Express project is going to be a game changer in moving folks north to south. It'll connect I-275 to US 19. FDOT is, and I know we have an FDOT representative here, are working on managed lanes on I-275 that'll give us a congestion-proof way to get around the area. So all of those projects are moving forward. On the transit side, the bus system is where we're focusing right now, and myself, Commissioner Eggers, Commissioner Long, and Commissioner Gerard serve on PSTA. We are now modifying our routes. We're going to have to raise fares on PSTA to keep it solvent. We'll have to cut some routes. But we are changing the services that we provide to the community through PSTA to try to keep it fiscally sound and in the black, and still have those services on the road. So that really was plan B. Rail is off the table for now. It was part of the Greenlight discussion, but it's not part of what we're doing right now. But at some point, it'll be a discussion again. And I think it'll be more of a discussion in the cities, in St. Pete and in Tampa first, over the Howard Franklin. But that's a decision for the future. Right now, we're focusing on the roads, on the transit system, on pedestrian and bike access.
All right, Janet, you had something?
I do, because I think that over time, what really needs to happen is that people begin to change the way they think about public transportation as a cultural issue, because it's very clear when you really study the issue of public transportation and how we move around. It is impossible in Pinellas County to build our way out of congestion by building roads. We've got to find a way to expand our thinking and begin to think 21st century. There's just no question that we are the most densely populated county in the state. We are at gridlock. So when people see the value to them individually in public transportation, and it's convenient and it's effective and it's efficient, then you'll see things begin to change. So little by little by little on PSTA, we're working really, really hard to put a couple of pilot projects in place that will be so robust and so efficient and so fun that you'll enjoy using it. And that way, I think we'll be able to expand and do a much better job of having people embrace it. Not to mention with the new construction going on at Tampa International and the incredible things that they're doing to bring their people mover right down to a multimodal center at West Shore Mall, it's just a no-brainer to be able to connect Pinellas County across the bridge.
I like the idea of the free donuts and coffee, every
I'll have
right?
to pass that on. Thank you.
You have other plans, just getting the commuters, the citizens to want to vote for that. Hillsborough County is trying to figure out what they're going to do too. Another question, Jane, from the audience, please.
Yes, we have Tricia from Clearwater. Tricia, your question.
Thank you, and thank you for this community conversation. Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Duval counties all have similar populations. Both Hillsborough and Duval counties have both drastically reduced their animal shelter euthanasia rates in the past year. All three had comparable intake numbers, but very different outcomes. Hillsborough killed 2,000 animals, talking about cats particular, in 2014, just as an example. Jacksonville killed 900, and Pinellas killed 4,000. Now that's similar intakes, but way different outcomes. So, and this goes far beyond TNR, by the way. So how can we, to use your words, Commissioner Seal, borrow the best ideas from the counties who are truly making a real difference in our animal population? And I'm speaking for both the dogs and the cats because I care.
Anybody?
The County Commission, just in the last year, has adopted two measures that really align very nicely with the objective that you have outlined, and that is an anti-tethering ordinance as well as a trap, neuter, vaccinate, and release ordinance. So I think those are two very positive steps on the road to trying to reduce the number of animals in our shelter that require euthanization. The other thing that we do, which is very positive, is we have a very robust adoption program in animal services, and we try very hard to partner with various rescue groups and the general public to notify them of these animals and their availability.
Okay. We have another question here that comes from the blog. It says, William wants to know when we can start building county roads with shade trees and for a variety of users, cyclists, pedestrians, and not just the cars. Are we doing that now? Or I know in some cities we are.
I'll try to address that in part. You know, I earlier mentioned, and maybe they weren't listening at that point, but every arterial road that we build now, we do add bike lanes. We have had a robust sidewalk to ADA compliance program where we systematically go through the unincorporated part of the county and fix these areas. We heard one tonight that needs to be fixed. The fix will be on its way. And then as far as the shade, that probably is a program that I am very sorry that we did discontinue. When we started the Penny for Pinellas this time in the year 2010, we had money dedicated towards beautification and landscaping on roads. And if you look at different roads that were built about 10 years ago, you will see that the landscaping is still being maintained, that it's lovely, and it adds to the ambiance of Pinellas County. I'd like to see this program put back into place again, but we are still recovering financially from the recession, so I think this is something we would try to look proactively towards the next penny in 2020 and see if we can get the beautification and the shade trees back in work.
Great. Okay, another question from Jane and one of our guests here. Go ahead.
Yes, we have Adam from Seminole. Your question.
Hi, good evening. How are you? My question was, how can we make our beaches here in Pinellas County more accessible for dogs? I know we have a dog park down in Fort DeSoto Park and another one in Clearwater County up there. And I was wondering, in the middle here, how can we create more accessible areas to bring our dogs to the beaches in a safe manner so that we're not impacting the environment and nature on the beaches?
Karen?
That's something that we would have to work with our cities on, because nearly every beach is in a city, and only at, say, Sand Key Park that the county owns, that's a county-owned park. I'm sure you found that many of the county big parks all have dog parks in them. We made that choice several years ago, and so as every park improves, or when Eagle Lake Park was open, we have a beautiful dog park there. But
Yeah,
that's a conversation we could definitely have with what we call the Big C, which is the Barrier Islands Council, and ask them whether collectively we could figure out a solution to that.
Okay,
because my dog likes water too.
Because we're winding down, I get to ask one of my questions, and you don't have to have the good answer. Raise baseball. Where does the commission stand on raise baseball? Ken, are you going to build a stadium in your own backyard?
Well, let's just say that the county commission through the TDC has contributed more than $100 million in debt service to pay off Tropicana Field, and we'll pay that off this September.
Right.
So the county commission's been a partner, I think the main partner. We actually own Tropicana Field to save the citizens of St. Pete more than $1 million in taxes. So we've been a partner. What I would just say is that the conversation needs to move forward, and that is in the hands of the St. Pete City Council and Mayor Kreisman right now. 2 years ago in January 2013, the Rays came to a county commission meeting, and we talked then about the need to move forward in this conversation. So we think Pinellas is the best place for the Rays. I-275 runs both ways, and folks can get here very easily to Tropicana Field. They ought to go see the Rays. They're in first place. But there's a limited life to Tropicana Field, and at some point they'll need a new ballpark. But the conversation needs to move forward, so we'll know if there'll be an ask to Pinellas County to continue that partnership. That's my opinion.
Okay, great. Another question from the floor here.
Yes, we have Dane from Seminole. Your question, please.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. You've touched on, I had 3 questions. You kind of touched on 2 of them. Just want to expand a little bit. One is on a tax assessment for the water runoff that you addressed already. My home was built in the 50s, neighborhood the same way. We're being charged the same as everybody else. I haven't changed any green space where I'm at. I'm not causing a problem. We got orange groves and stuff that are gone, and now housing. That's a problem. I think you need to look at how you're charging the citizens and assessing them this fee and make it more fair. Like I said, I haven't changed any green space. Take a look at that. I'm asking you. Yes, there is a problem. Charging developers, it's a boom coming again, it looks like again. Impact fees, all that. I know in the past they either waived them or didn't charge them what they should, and you need to take a look at impact fees. The other issue is PSTA. You talked about that. We're being charged on our taxes for PSTA assessment. I see now free Wi-Fi on the PSTA bus. That's great. Why are we paying? Why are we helping subsidize that? Let them, as mentioned, let them raise prices, let them get in the black. It's a business. Let them run it as a business. And the third thing is, I haven't heard it tonight, but we got a notice in a water bill. You want to raise our water rates. Water's been an issue. I've been here since 1980s in Pinellas County. I've always heard that.
You're still there. Yeah.
I've always heard water's an issue. Conserve. We don't have enough water. You're still allowing building, people putting stuff up. We're growing more and more. Madness. Nestle making billions on pumping our water, our natural resource out of the wells here. Millions of gallons of water a day, making billions in dollars on it. Why are we suffering? Let's change it, Thank you.
Yeah, we're kind of running out of time. Water rates, what's the situation on that? I know you've been talking about that recently.
We voted last night. The vote was 6-1 on raising the rates. It's 1.75% for the next 4 years. Over the years, we weren't raising the rates, and then what would happen is that we would have to raise them in order to keep up with it or keep up with the costs, and you would get a 20% hit. And the board changed the way that we thought on that a few years ago, and we said, look, we're going to do this every year. That way it'll be nominal, and people will be able to put it into their budgets. And next year, what we voted for last night, it's actually 11 cents a month on the most basic rate increase. 11 cents, then it's like 15 cents the next year. It's only 1.75% each year.
Listen, if you have questions you want to ask the commissioners afterwards, you're certainly allowed to stick around and they can answer some of those questions. But hey, thank you so much for participating. Give yourself a round of applause, and for everybody that was at home, we sure appreciate you taking part in this event. We also want to thank all the folks here at St. Petersburg College, President Dr. William Law, the staff of the Seminole campus, the Institute of Strategic Policy Solutions, and my employer, of course, Bay News 9, for partnering with the county to bring us this community conversation. We appreciate you joining us tonight. I want to remind you that you can view all the citizen survey results and the county strategic plan on the county's website at pinellascounty.org/strategic plan. And as always, you can contact your elected officials or county administrators with any questions or your concerns that you may have. Again, thank you so much. They desperately want to hear your feedback, especially if it's good, but they'll take the tough questions too. Thank you, and take care, everybody.